What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal here. I'm Shredlord.
Necrotic Nick.
And we are here to bring you yet another album review. This time, we are doing the release by Warbringer. The album is called
Weapons of Tomorrow. This comes out also on the 24th of April on Napalm Records. This is the band's sixth full length. They've been around since 2004 from Ventura, California. And one of their lead guitarists is also a member of Ex Mortis, which we've had the pleasure of seeing, and holy shit, those guys shred balls.
Lots of good shredness.
Oh, yeah.
Shreddy goodness.
I have to say, going into this one, I expected a lot of improvement. Their last album, Woe to the Vanquished, was fantastic. I think they really kind of approached a whole new level of songwriting and just overall power. And I have to say, I'm not disappointed at all with this release. Right from the opener, firepower kills, good pace setter, good riffy, chuggy. It's kind of an interesting balance between German thrash metal and Bay Area stuff. You kind of get that extra snarl.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison.
Like Sodom meets Exodus. And that's a tour package I'd love to see.
I think this whole album was, I mean, you always get something, right? And
yeah.
You don't know what to anticipate. But doing a little research, you find out, oh, one of the dudes from Ex Mortis. Knowing I love Ex Mortis, I'm thinking, it's either going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be really cool, or I'm going to be like, this is fucking weird, like that.
Guitar wankery, possibly.
Like that, the Martin Mendez fiasco, But this album was fucking killer. One of the coolest things, normally I'm a guy who focuses on the guitars, but the vocals really caught my attention on this album.
He's all over the place.
His ability to, first of all, even in certain ballad-type songs, right, he still kept the aggressive, raw vocals, which I dug because it enabled them to do the more soft stuff while having that nice contrast and not being too mellow.
Yeah.
It kept the intensity there, even though the instruments were a little bit toned down.
100%. And one of the things I like that they continued on with from the last album was longer songs. There are two songs on here that are over 7 minutes that I think are just quite possibly the best songs.
Yeah, they're great
on here. Defiance of Fate and Heart of Darkness. And these are interesting because they bring in some black metal elements too, which honestly I wasn't expecting. Defiance of Fate actually has some cool little keyboards in there that are kind of nice atmosphere. It really reminded me a lot of Bathory and Emperor. And again, I wasn't expecting that. It starts with almost a Metallica-like opening. And then somewhere it just goes into blackened shrieks and all that tremolo atmosphere. I was like, dude, wow, this took a turn that I didn't expect. But it was good. They absolutely nailed the feel on that.
Once again, going back to that vocalist, man, there are times where he sounds like Chuck Schuldiner. There's times where he sounds like Chuck Billy. There's times where he sounds like the original dude from Annihilator.
Yes,
It's all over the place, man, but everything was appropriate. It was nice to hear him flex with the music, because the music isn't, all the same and stagnant,
No. I would say there's much more variety on this album than I would say on their previous albums. I like their earlier stuff. It's very one gear, thrashy, in your face, all the energy up front. This one, there's a lot more nuance.
There's a lot more finesse.
Yeah,
finesse in the songwriting. Very moody and dark, all while keeping the intensity. That's the one thing I think that I walked away from this album is even at times where the music is more subtle and laid back, they're still able to hold that intensity and keep you interested through it.
There's actually a soft interlude, I believe, in Heart of Darkness, where it shifts to just very clean playing. And honestly, it still feels intense. There's a really nice, clean solo in there, too. And the lead work is great on this. Definitely nice trade-offs between the two guitarists, and there's a contrast in their styles, you can definitely tell. But I would say, the biggest theme on this is songwriting maturity. These guys are bringing lots of dynamics. There are hooks aplenty, and different kinds of hooks. There's even little nods to, early death metal, or, Possessed, or early Death. Lots of those Chuck Schuldiner-like guitar harmonies and some nice little tremolo chugs, but they still get back to the whole nitty-gritty, bring the thrash stuff, Unraveling, which is just a thrashy barn burner. It's not even 3.5 minutes long, and it's all aggression right up front. So this is a really interesting album in terms of how they have it paced out, because there's definitely stuff that hints to their older stuff, but they are forging ahead big time.
Yeah, never hearing this band before until this album. I really, really like this album. I'm going to go back and listen to probably everything in the back catalog, even though upon a little quick listen, it's more raw thrash, but still, I'm anxious to hear what else these guys have done and then be able to compare it to what I just heard, because it sounds like from Necrotic here, who's listened to a lot of their previous albums, that as songwriters, they're just they've hit their stride, man. They're coming in, they've come into their own, and they are just writing killer fucking tracks as seen here. Things like even Black Hand Reaches Out, which is the second track.
The first one they did a video for too. It's a fun video, by the way.
I think it could have been the opening track. I absolutely adored it. Defiance of Fate is my favorite song on there. The ending is just fucking epic.
Oh, the Iron Maiden.
There's the Maiden type harmony. There's the Maiden type progression. There's a killer lead. The leads are great, and it is shreddy, but I will say that it wasn't overdone.
Yeah.
Because there are albums to where even fantastic guitar players are just sitting there and they're overplaying, right?
Yep.
And it takes away from the song. This was not the case at all. The guitars were all over the place, but very appropriate. And even in the riff writing, it was very creative. Some riffs were tremolo picking. Some riffs were just straight up like Megadeth, Metallica type thrash, you know? So the variety and the mix of all these different elements on this album really made it work for me. I was not bored at all listening to this album.
And there's definitely some like nostalgic kicks in there, like you brought up Iron Maiden. The song Notre Dame, King of Fools. The opening to that reminded me so much of Good Morning Black Friday on Peace Sells Food Buying, which is such a beautiful fucking album. Only one moment I could say on this album where it was like, maybe that could have been rearranged was on Outer Reaches. There is an awesome chuggy breakdown that comes in near the end, like after a really cool, like almost neoclassical solo. And keeps going, and then it shifts back to the fast part with a repeat of a verse there. And another solo, and it just feels like that breakdown should have been how it closed, because that just screamed like the most powerful moment in that song to just end on. Like, dude, yes, the gut punch. But outside of that, I got nothing. Like, these guys wrote a killer album. The last track, Glorious End,
Love that track.
Such an awesome
great
closer.
track.
Really cool lyrical theme in there too. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting like the battle hymns and everything, but there's a little
Viking
bit more
metal,
yeah,
like, you know,
a little bit more
grab your
depth
drinking
to it.
horns.
It's really interesting. There's a really cool like storytelling element to that song, and I like the nods to Metallica in the beginning. It kind of starts off with that whole backwards guitar, very similar to Blackened, and then it actually kind of goes into almost like that big opening section for Battery. It's like, okay, these are obvious nods. They're not trying to copy it. These are just, hey, this is what we grew up on. This is what we love, and yeah, it worked in well with the song. This album is fantastic. I look forward to getting my copy in the mail here. I'm so glad this was available to stream, and I'm going to go ahead and give it 4.5 stars. This is so far my favorite thrash album that's come up this year, and I loved the shit out of Testament, and I still do. I think this is even just a little bit better. Honestly, I would say this band's Rust in Peace. Like, this is we stepped up to the plate, we showed off a whole different range of songwriting skills, and just nailed it. Flat out.
I also got to give it a 4.5. The clever uses of nostalgic themes that we all love as metalheads, the songwriting, and the fact that 10 tracks at 50 minutes, there wasn't a time where I was like, okay, wrap it up. It was a very smooth, very easy listen, and a very enjoyable listen on a lot of different fronts. So 4.5 from me all day.
Yeah, honestly, I could have done with like a couple more tracks like that was that good. So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do shit like this all the time. Catch you guys later.